when terrorists overran Fort Braxton and cut off all escape routes. Every elite soldier knew it was a suicide mission. The only way to call for help was a 15,000-foot combat jump through enemy fire. That's when the scared 19-year-old girl everyone had been protecting stepped forward and volunteered. Private Emma Rodriguez pressed against the concrete wall as explosions shook Fort Braxton. At 19, barely 5'2" and 110 pounds, she looked more like someone's kid sister than a soldier. For 2 weeks, that's exactly how the elite soldiers had treated her. "Stay down, Rodriguez," Sergeant Mike Chun barked, crawling past with his rifle ready. This isn't training anymore. The terrorist attack had begun at 0300 hours, catching the base during its most vulnerable time. 50 elite soldiers were now trapped, communications down, reinforcements cut off. Staff Sergeant Lisa Torres crawled to Emma's position. "You okay, kid?" "I'm fine," Emma replied, though her voice shook. The fear wasn't from gunfire. It was from hiding something from people who'd become like family. Captain Jake Morrison, the senior tactical officer who'd treated Emma like a daughter, joined them. "Status report. Perimeter compromised," Torres responded. "We can hold maybe 4 hours before they overwhelm us." Emma listened while watching the battle outside. The terrorists were professionals. Their movements showed military training. Equipment was top tier. But they made one mistake. They focused on blocking ground exits, not aerial approaches. "Captain," Emma said quietly. "The radio tower on Hill 247. If someone could reach it, could they call for help?" Morrison's eyebrows rose. "That's 6 miles through hostile territory, kid. What about from above?" Emma asked. "A halo jump?" Morrison calculated quickly. "Theoretically possible, but that's a combat jump at night with no backup. The landing zone is a postage stamp surrounded by mountains. Miss by 50 meters and you're dead." Emma nodded, absorbing the challenges. "I can do it." Morrison's expression softened. "Emma, this would challenge our most experienced." "Captain," Emma interrupted, her voice carrying new authority. "I need to tell you something about my background." Emma looked at the officers who protected her for 2 weeks. "Before enlisting, I spent 3 years as a civilian contractor with special operations units." Morrison frowned. "What kind of contractor?" "High-altitude parachute operations. I've completed 73 military jumps, including 47 halo insertions in Afghanistan and Syria." Torres stared in disbelief. "You're 19. How?" "My father was Master Sergeant Carlos Rodriguez, 82nd Airborne. He started teaching me to skydive at 12. When he was killed in Afghanistan, I got recruited by a contractor who needed someone small enough for dangerous insertions." Emma's demeanor shifted from scared recruit to professional operator. "For 3 years, I was treated like a weapon. When I enlisted, I wanted to be treated like a normal soldier for once." Morrison studied her with new eyes. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because for the first time in years, people were protecting me instead of using me. I wanted to be someone's little sister instead of someone's secret weapon." Another explosion reminded them of their situation. Morrison's expression shifted to tactical mode. "Emma, what's your assessment?" Emma pulled out a detailed map covered in annotations. "The jump is challenging but feasible. Weather optimal, terrorist positions focused ground level. Halo insertion should avoid detection. Equipment needed? MC, 4 system, altimeter, tactical gear. I've made this exact jump 17 times in combat." Morrison looked at Torres, who shook her head but didn't object. Outside, gunfire was getting closer. "How long to prep?" Morrison asked. 20 minutes. Jump takes 15 minutes flight time." Morrison made his decision. "Do it." 20 minutes later, Emma sat in a Black Hawk helicopter at 15,000 feet, watching Fort Braxton's lights shrink below. Her scared recruit facade was gone, replaced by professional confidence. 2 minutes to drop," announced pilot Sarah Kim. Emma checked her altimeter. The landing zone was a tiny clearing surrounded by mountains. Miss by meters, and she'd die. 30 seconds, Kim called. Emma moved to the doorway, feet on the skids. Below was nothing but darkness and peaks. "Go!" Emma pushed off and plunged into the void. Free fall at 15,000 feet, gave her 60 seconds to navigate through darkness. She spread her body into stable position, using herself as an airfoil to control descent. 14,000 feet, 13,000, 12,000. Below, the landscape was shadows and faint lights. The communications tower should have a red beacon, but at this distance, everything looked the same. 8,000 feet, 7,000, 6,000. Now she could see terrain features. The tower was resolving as a thin line against the mountainside. At 3,000 feet, Emma pulled her ripcord. The chute deployed with a snap, jerking her upright. Now came precision flying. 2 minutes to navigate to the postage stamp landing zone. The tower was clear now, beacon flashing steadily. The landing zone was small, surrounded by trees and boulders. Emma adjusted her approach, correcting for crosswind that threatened to push her into rocks. 50 feet, 30, 20. She flared the chute and dropped into the clearing with a controlled roll. She was down, alive, and exactly where she needed to be. Emma quickly secured her chute and approached the communications facility. The compound appeared unguarded. Terrorists had focused on the main base. Using wire cutters, she breached the fence and picked the lock on the equipment building. Inside were banks of communications gear and the emergency beacon. She began the activation sequence, following procedures from her contractor days. The equipment needed several minutes to warm up. Her radio crackled. Rodriguez, status report. At communications facility. Equipment powering up. 5 minutes until beacon operational. Copy. We're taking heavy fire. Maybe an hour left. Emma finished the startup sequence and entered emergency codes. The beacon began broadcasting Fort Braxton situation to every military facility within 500 miles. Emergency beacon active, she reported. Outstanding. Now get out of. Morrison's transmission was cut by an explosion. Through her position, Emma could see flashes from Fort Braxton. The battle was intensifying. Her radio picked up new transmissions, helicopter traffic in a foreign language. Terrorist reinforcements were arriving. Emma made a decision. Instead of fleeing, she accessed the equipment's advanced capabilities, gathering intelligence on terrorist communications. For 10 minutes, she recorded approach vectors, unit designations, equipment manifests. The terrorists weren't planning to hold the base. They were executing a smash and grab for classified materials. A new voice came over her radio. Rodriguez, this is Colonel Martinez, 160th Special Operations. We've received your beacon. Military assets inbound. Copy, Colonel. What's your ETA? 20 minutes. Emma felt relief. But as she prepared to leave, she heard vehicle engines approaching. Someone was coming to investigate the beacon activation. 2 military trucks climbed toward the facility, 6 armed figures dismounting. These weren't the same terrorists from base. Their equipment was newer, movements more professional. The organization's elite unit, sent to eliminate whoever had compromised their operation. Emma had 2 choices: flee or defend the communications equipment still broadcasting vital intelligence. She chose to fight. Using tactical training, she identified defensive positions and prepared for siege. She moved critical equipment away from windows, then took position with clear sight lines to the entrance. The terrorists established a perimeter, planning their assault. Through her scope, Emma could see they were special forces trained. Rodriguez, we're tracking vehicles at your location. Colonel Martinez radioed. Hostile forces approaching. 6 personnel, military-grade equipment. I'm maintaining the beacon. Get out of there. We can re-establish communications elsewhere. Negative. The beacon is providing real-time intelligence. You be going in blind. You're not equipped for extended firefight. Emma checked her ammunition. Sir, I've been equipped for this my entire life. The first terrorist approached cautiously. Emma let him get within 10 meters before opening fire. Her shot dropped him instantly. The remaining 5 took cover and returned fire, bullets shattering windows but not penetrating her position. For 10 minutes, Emma fought professional soldiers trying to storm her position. She used every technique from her contractor work: controlled movement, precise shots, psychological warfare. Status report. Martinez called through gunfire. Still holding. 5 hostiles remaining. Air support 2 minutes out. The terrorists realized rescue was coming and intensified their assault. Instead of careful approach, they began coordinated rush from multiple directions. Emma moved rapidly between firing positions, engaging targets while avoiding concentrated fire. Her training took over completely, no longer scared recruit, but professional operator defending vital equipment. Approaching helicopters filled the air. One terrorist produced a grenade. Emma's rifle barked once more, and the grenade detonated in his hand. Apache 6-1 has visual. Identify friendly positions. Friendly inside building. For hostiles outside fence. Keep your head down. The Apache's 30mm cannon thundered, systematically eliminating remaining terrorists. Within seconds, the threat was neutralized. All clear, Rodriguez. Emma emerged to find the mountainside scarred by gunfire. Terrorist vehicles were burning wrecks. Morrison's voice crackled over radio. Emma, please tell me you're okay. I'm fine, Captain. Communications secure. Air support just hit here too. You did it, kid. Colonel Martinez cut in. Black Hawk inbound for extraction. 3 minutes. As the helicopter appeared, Emma looked at the equipment still broadcasting intelligence. In 2 hours, she'd gone from protected recruit to combat operative, completing an impossible mission. More importantly, she'd proven that the kindness of her fellow soldiers hadn't made her weak. It had given her something worth fighting for. 3 weeks later, Emma stood at attention in Fort Braxton's auditorium, wearing dress uniform and feeling uncomfortable with attention. The base had been rebuilt, terrorist threat eliminated. Colonel Martinez addressed an audience, including senior military officials. Private Rodriguez's actions represent the highest traditions of military service. Her courage directly resulted in successful defense and preservation of 50 lives. Major Morrison, promoted after his leadership during the crisis, presented Emma's decoration. For conspicuous gallantry, you are awarded the Bronze Star with V device for valor. As he pinned the medal, Morrison whispered, "Your father would be proud." After the ceremony, Emma was surrounded by soldiers who'd become family. Torres, Chun, and others who'd protected her during those first weeks. Still planning to be just a normal soldier? Torres grinned. Emma looked at faces of people who'd accepted her completely. I've learned normal is overrated, but family isn't. Morrison approached. Emma, your performance has attracted attention from high-level units. Advanced training opportunities are available. Emma considered the offer. More specialist work, more dangerous missions. Thank you, sir, but I'd like to stay here. I've got more to learn from these people. What could we possibly teach you? Torres laughed. Emma smiled. How to be part of family. Turns out that's the most important training of all. Walking back to barracks, Morrison asked, "Any regrets?" Emma thought about the question. No regrets. For the first time, I got to be someone's little sister before I had to be anyone's weapon. That was worth everything. You'll always be part of this family, Morrison said. Emma looked at the mountains where she'd made her jump, then back at the base where 50 soldiers had accepted her completely. I know, and that's what made the jump possible. I wasn't just fighting for the mission. I was fighting for home. The scared recruit was gone, replaced by someone who understood that strength came not from what you could do alone, but what you were willing to do for people who mattered most. Emma Rodriguez had found where she belonged, not as a weapon or protected recruit, but as a soldier among soldiers, a sister among siblings. And when the next crisis came, she would be ready, not just because of training or skills, but because she had something worth fighting for. She had a family to protect.